Good evening and welcome to KTN Business. My name is Abi Agina. Cabinet has this evening approved the Draft Financial Services Authority Bill 2016, which seeks to merge the functions of four major financial regulatory bodies. The decision, which has far-reaching implications for the financial services sector, was reached after a long tussle and will now see many hitherto and strong independent regulators lose critical control of particular areas of the economy. The move to merge several financial regulatory bodies by Cabinet is viewed as a step in the right direction by the government to cut bureaucracy and spur investments. The note by Cabinet will see the Financial Services Authority take over functions of the Capital Markets Authority, the Insurance Regulatory Authority, the Retirement Benefits Authority, and the Circle Societies Regulatory Authority.
The vision seeks to create a robust, inclusive, efficient, stable, and globally competitive financial services sector that promotes savings, mobilization to finance long-term development.
In a recent interview with Nairobi Securities Exchange Chief Executive Officer Geoffrey Odundo, he told KTN this was inevitable.
We recently went to Qatar and just had a meeting with the Qatar Financial Reporting Center to just understand how the whole ecosystem works. And I can rightly put that Kenya is really well established in that direction. I think if you look at our ecosystem, it has all the features that any financial center has to have.
Although it is not clear whether staff working at the said authorities will be affected, the government maintains the purpose of the decision to merge is to provide a consolidated supervision for financial services, to eliminate regulatory gaps, and to increase the protection of consumers of financial services.
Separate regulators has been beneficial in that they've helped the specific industries also grow in terms of standards, in terms of products. And even the investment groups. So if you look at the Capital Markets Authority, which is a regulator for the capital markets, a lot of revolution has taken place to the point that today we now have an exchange-traded fund.
Essentially, the cost of complying with the regulation becomes too heavy, while the aspiration is to have one single regulator.
Kenya being among the leading mature markets in East Africa, the push to merge the watchdogs is the initiative to reduce the number of regulatory bodies all working in the same field. Under the proposed bill, all non-bank financial services providers will be licensed by the FSA through a single license. The authority will have a full range of administrative and enforcement powers. Observers say it is still too early to know how the merger will affect the sector in its entirety. Kenya's peers such as Rwanda are already steps ahead on this front. Abi Agina, KTN Business. Indeed, big news there of the Financial Service Sector Authority that will be formulated in the course of the year. Moving on now, the chair of the Kenya Coalition for Wildlife Conservation and Management, Sydney Quantai, has hailed the National Environmental Tribunal for stopping the construction of Phase 2A of the standard gauge railway from Nairobi to Naivasha. The National Environmental Tribunal on Wednesday stopped the construction of the 63 billion shilling project until it determines whether or not proper environmental assessment on the route was done. Here's an excerpt of what Quantai told KTN News earlier in the day.
90% of those who attended that consultation were totally opposed to the way things were being rushed through, and said that the license should not be issued until due process was actually considered. But unfortunately, just a few days later, and that was actually during the holidays of Jamhuri Day, the license was issued. Yet there were issues challenging that license. So we found that to be rather strange that the Director General of NEMA would go right ahead and issue a license when already it had been challenged by 90% of those who gave their views. And you know, we were given 90 days to make our comments. And the license was issued, in fact, 4 days only after the public hearing. So that raises a lot of issues. Then when you look at the license itself, it has very serious issues because, one, the proponent, the Kenya Railways, is not the one vested with the responsibility to ensure that the special conditions of that license are being met. It is rather the Chinese, China Roads, which to me is rather uncalled for because the proponent is Kenya Railways. Kenya Wildlife Service has a responsibility as well. But can you imagine the China Roads and Bridges is supposed to do all that, and they will be constructing the railway for like 4 years.
Of course, to catch more of that interview with Michael Gitonga, you can actually find it on our website, www.ktnews.com. Now to matters energy. Rupingazi hydropower plant in Embu County is set to supply 6.8 megawatts of power to the national power grid. The move comes at a time when Kenyans are facing increased power costs due to low water levels in dams. According to Eddie Murage Mugo, the managing director of Clean Energy, who are operating the plant, a 25-year lease agreement has been signed with Kenya Forest Services, which manages the Njukiri Forest, where the plant is located, as well as a 20-year power purchase agreement with the Kenya Power and Lighting Company to supply an estimated 28,000 kilowatt-hour per year. The project is set to ensure the continued availability of cheap energy, as well as creating over 500 job opportunities to unemployed youth in the area.
Our aim is to produce cheap energy for all Kenyans, so that at no time should we have any fossil fuels generators running.
Well, that's where we wrap it up on KTN Business and paving way for the sports news. My name is Ambi Agina. Have a lovely evening.